Captain Lee Taemin stood on the bridge of the UES Harmony, watching the massive space station grow larger on the view screen. The Galactic Council Station was always impressive. It looked like a giant silver wheel floating in space, with ships from dozens of different worlds docked at its many ports. Today felt different, though. The usual busy traffic around the station seemed lighter than normal. "Captain, we're getting the docking signal," said his communications officer. Lee nodded and watched as his ship slowly moved toward the assigned port. He had been coming to these council meetings for 3 years now, ever since Earth joined the galactic community. Usually the meetings were boring talks about trade routes and mining rights, but this emergency session worried him. Dr. Park So-jin walked onto the bridge, carrying her data pad and looking concerned. She was Earth's best expert on alien cultures and had studied every species in the council for years. "The alien delegates have been acting strange," she told Lee. "They're avoiding our usual diplomatic meetings. Even the friendly species are being cold to us." Lee frowned. "Any idea why?" "Not yet. But I've been tracking communication patterns. There's been a lot of encrypted messages between the major species in the past week. Something big is happening." The ship docked with a soft bump. Lee straightened his uniform and prepared to represent Earth at what might be the most important meeting in human history. He just didn't know how important yet. The council chamber was a huge circular room with seats for representatives from 47 different worlds. Earth's seat was near the back, a reminder that humans were still the newest members. Counselor. Yoon Hye-jin was already at Earth's desk reviewing her notes. She had been Earth's main voice in the council since first contact and knew the political games better than anyone. As Lee took his seat next to her, Yoon whispered, "Something's wrong. The hegemony species called this meeting, but they won't tell anyone the agenda. That never happens." The hegemony were tall, blue-skinned aliens who controlled the largest military in the galaxy. They had always been polite to humans, but never friendly. Their representative, High Counselor Vexitar, stood at the center podium and began to speak. "Fellow council members," Vexitar's voice boomed through the chamber. "We gather today to discuss a matter of galactic security. Recent analysis has shown that some member species pose a threat to the stability of our peaceful alliance." Lee felt his stomach drop. Dr. Park grabbed his arm and whispered, "They're talking about us." Vexitar continued, "The species known as humans have shown aggressive expansion, rapid military growth, and dangerous technological advancement. For the safety of all peaceful worlds, we must take action." Counselor Yoon stood up. "High Counselor, Earth has followed every council law and treaty. We've contributed resources, shared technology, and never threatened anyone. What exactly are you accusing us of?" A new voice spoke from across the chamber. It belonged to the Keth Mori, a species that looked like giant insects. "Human military ships have increased by 40% in 5 years. Human mining operations now span 12 systems. Human technology advances faster than any species in recorded history. This pattern matches exactly what the extinct Zarkorian Empire did before they tried to conquer the galaxy." Lee couldn't believe what he was hearing. Everything the aliens mentioned was true, but it wasn't aggressive expansion. Earth's population was growing, so they needed more resources. Human technology advanced quickly because humans were naturally good at solving problems. And the military growth was just to protect their colonies from space pirates. Another alien species, the tall, gray-skinned Velthari, added their voice. "The humans call it manifest destiny, the belief that they should spread across the galaxy. Their own history shows they conquered their entire home world through warfare." Dr. Park stood up, her face red with anger. "That's completely out of context. Yes, humans had wars in the past, but we've been peaceful for over 200 years. We joined the council because we wanted cooperation, not conquest." High Counselor Vexitar raised his hand for silence. "The decision has been made. For galactic security, Earth must immediately surrender 80% of its military fleet to Council control. All human mining operations outside the Sol system must be transferred to Council administration. Human technological research must be monitored and approved by Council scientists." The chamber fell silent. Lee felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. They were basically asking Earth to become a slave world. Counselor Yoon's voice was carefully controlled when she spoke. And if Earth refuses these demands, then the Council will take collective peacekeeping action to protect the galaxy, Vextar replied. We hope that won't be necessary. Lee looked around the chamber and realized that almost every alien species was nodding in agreement. The few that looked uncomfortable weren't speaking up. This wasn't a sudden decision. It had been planned for a long time. As the meeting ended, Lee caught fragments of conversations as the aliens left. Finally dealing with the human problem. Should have done this years ago. Too dangerous to let them continue growing. Back on the Harmony, Lee called an emergency meeting with his senior staff. Dr. Park was pacing back and forth, too angry to sit down. 50 years, she said. 50 years of peaceful cooperation, sharing our discoveries, helping with their problems. And this is how they repay us. It's worse than that, said Lieutenant Kim Min-soo, the ship's intelligence officer. I've been monitoring their communication channels during the meeting. This has been in planning for at least 5 years. They've been systematically isolating us from potential allies and studying our military capabilities. Admiral Kim Dong-woo appeared on the communication screen from Earth. His face looked grim. Captain Lee, I assume you heard the Council's demands. What's your assessment? It's a trap, sir. They never intended to treat us as equals. We've been set up from the beginning. The Admiral nodded. That's what our analysis shows too. Earth's leadership is meeting now to decide our response. How long do we have? They gave us 72 hours to comply, Counselor Yoon answered. 72 hours to give up everything that makes us free, Dr. Park added bitterly. Admiral Kim was quiet for a moment. Captain, begin moving the Harmony to a safe distance from the station. I have a feeling that in 3 days the galaxy is going to be a very different place. As the Harmony undocked and moved away from the Council station, Lee watched the massive structure shrink on his view screen. For 50 years, it had represented hope for humanity, proof that different species could work together peacefully. Now it looked like what it really was, a trap that had finally closed around Earth. But the aliens had made one mistake. They assumed that humans would either submit quietly or fight a conventional war they couldn't win. They didn't know that. Humans were very good at finding a third option, especially when their backs were against the wall. The countdown to Earth's response had begun. The emergency meeting room deep under Geneva was packed with Earth's most important leaders. President Moon Jae-won sat at the head of the long table, his face showing the stress of the past 24 hours. Around him sat generals, scientists, diplomats, and intelligence chiefs, all trying to figure out how to save humanity from becoming slaves to the galaxy. General Choi Min-ho spread out holographic displays showing alien fleet positions. They're not waiting for our answer, he said grimly. 16 different alien fleets are moving toward our colonies. They're positioning themselves to attack the moment our deadline passes. Admiral Kim Dong-woo pointed to the display. Look at the numbers. They have over 3,000 ships compared to our 400. In a straight fight, we'd lose badly. It gets worse, said Ambassador Lim Jae-sung, who had just returned from the Galactic Council station. I managed to access some classified council records before I left. This isn't the first time they've done this. 17 other species have been pacified over the past 800 years. Species that became too advanced, too independent, or too threatening. Dr. Kang Yuri, a quiet woman who rarely spoke in these meetings, suddenly looked up from her datapad. What happened to those 17 species? Ambassador Lim's face went pale. They don't exist anymore. Some were reduced to primitive farming worlds. Others were scattered across the galaxy as laborers. A few were completely wiped out when they refused to surrender. The room fell silent. President Moon finally spoke. So our choices are slavery or extinction. There might be a third option, Dr. Kang said quietly. Everyone turned to look at the quantum physicist. For the past 10 years, I've been working on a project that was deemed too dangerous to continue. We called it Project Absolute Zero. General Choi leaned forward. I remember that project. Wasn't it canceled because it was considered a weapon? Of mass destruction? Dr. Kang nodded. The theory was simple but terrifying. Using quantum field manipulation, we could alter the nuclear fusion processes inside stars. We could make them burn hotter, cooler, or even stop burning entirely. The room erupted in shocked voices. Admiral Kim raised his hand for quiet. Dr. Kang, are you saying we could actually freeze a star? Not just freeze it. We could control stellar temperatures with precision from anywhere in the galaxy. The energy requirements are enormous, but we solved that problem 3 years ago with the new quantum reactors. Intelligence Chief Lee Taman, who had just returned from his spy mission, stood up. There's something else you all need to know. I managed to hack into the Council's military planning systems before I escaped. They think our technology is primitive compared to theirs. Isn't it? Asked General Choi. That's what I thought too, but look at this. Lee activated a holographic comparison chart. Their ships are bigger and have more firepower, but their technology is actually older than ours. They've been so focused on maintaining control that they stopped innovating centuries ago. Dr. Kang's eyes lit up. That means their scientists won't see Project Absolute Zero coming. They have no defense against quantum stellar manipulation because they never developed that technology. President Moon held up his hand. Before we go any further, let me make sure I understand. You're proposing that we threaten to freeze alien stars unless they leave us alone? Not threaten, Dr. Kang said calmly. Demonstrate. Pick one star system, one that belongs to the most aggressive species. Lower the temperature of their star by just enough to cause problems, but not kill everyone. Show them we can do it. Then make our demands. General Choi looked horrified. You're talking about affecting billions of lives. They're talking about enslaving or killing all 8 billion humans. Dr. Kang replied. Plus, the effect would be temporary and reversible. No one has to die. Captain Nam Ki-jun, who commanded Earth's most advanced experimental ship, spoke up. How long would it take to build this weapon? It's already built, Dr. Kang said. The prototype has been sitting in a storage facility on Luna for 3 years. We just need to activate it and target a star. The room buzzed with excited and worried conversations. President Moon called for order. This is the most serious decision in human history. Are we really prepared to become the kind of species that manipulates stars as weapons? Ambassador Lim stood up. Mr. President, I've spent 5 years studying these aliens. They respect only strength. They've been planning our subjugation since the day we met them. Diplomacy has failed because they never intended to treat us fairly. Dr. Song Yoon Ae, the stellar mechanics specialist, had been quiet until now. I've run the calculations on Dr. Kang's project. The quantum field manipulation is incredibly precise. We could demonstrate our capability without causing permanent damage. But once we do this, there's no going back. The galaxy will never see us the same way again. Colonel An Woo-jin, the psychological warfare expert, added, that might be exactly what we need. Right now, they see us as weak newcomers they can push around. If we show them we have the power to freeze stars, they'll see us as the most dangerous species in the galaxy. President Moon looked around the table at the faces of Earth's leaders. All in favor of authorizing Project Absolute Zero? One by one, hands went up around the table. Finally, only the president's vote remained. He closed his eyes for a moment, thinking about humanity's future. Then his hand rose as well. Dr. Kang, you have authorization to proceed, but I want safeguards in place. No permanent damage. No civilian casualties if we can avoid them. This is a demonstration of power, not an act of genocide. Dr. Kang nodded and immediately began making calls to activate the project. Within hours, the secret facility on Luna was buzzing with activity as scientists prepared humanity's most terrible weapon. Meanwhile, Captain Lee Taman sent a carefully worded message to the Galactic Council. Earth requests a 48-hour extension to prepare our compliance with Council demands. We need time to organize the transfer of our military assets. The Council quickly agreed, thinking that Earth was preparing to surrender. They had no idea that humanity was preparing to demonstrate why threatening humans was the worst mistake in galactic history. As the secret preparations continued, Ordinary humans across Earth and the colonies went about their daily lives, unaware that their leaders were about to change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. Children played in parks, couples planned weddings, and workers built new homes, all while their scientists prepared to reach across space and touch a star. The aliens had set a trap for humanity, but they didn't realize they had walked into a much bigger trap themselves. For 50 years they had watched humans and assumed they understood them. They saw a young species that was good at following rules and sharing resources. They missed the most important thing about humans. When cornered, they didn't just fight back. They found ways to fight that no one expected. In 36 hours, the galaxy would learn what happened when you threatened humanity's children. The Galactic Council was about to discover that the quiet, peaceful species they had decided to enslave had the power to freeze stars. The Luna facility hummed with quiet energy as Dr. Kang Yuri made final adjustments to the massive quantum field generator. The device looked deceptively simple, just a series of crystalline matrices arranged in a perfect sphere, surrounded by monitoring equipment. But this machine could reach across the galaxy and touch the heart of a star. Lieutenant Colonel Bae Seung-ho stood nearby, coordinating with special operations teams across human space. His job was to make sure no alien spies learned about the Yao project before it was too late to stop it. "All teams report ready," he told Dr. Kang. "The aliens still think we're preparing to surrender." Dr. Song Yoon-ae was at her control station, watching stellar data from the target system stream across her screens. "The Hegemony Homestar is perfect for our demonstration," she said. "It's stable, well-monitored, and has 6 inhabited planets. A 12% temperature reduction will cause severe cooling but won't kill anyone immediately." Captain Nam Ki-jun was aboard his ship, the UES Retribution, positioned at the edge of human space. His vessel carried the communication equipment that would broadcast Earth's message to the galaxy immediately after the demonstration. "All systems ready," he reported. "The moment you activate the field, I'll transmit our demands to every species in the Council." Back on Earth, President Moon Jae-won sat in the secure command center, watching the countdown timer. In 2 hours, Earth's deadline would expire and alien fleets would begin their attack. But in 10 minutes, humanity would show the galaxy something impossible. "Dr. Kang," the president said into his communicator, "are you absolutely certain this will work?" "The calculations are perfect, sir. The quantum field will propagate instantaneously across space and begin affecting the star's fusion processes within minutes. The temperature drop will be gradual but noticeable within 6 hours." General Choi Min-ho was monitoring alien fleet movements. "Sir, the Hegemony attack fleet is moving into position around our Mars colony. They're not waiting for the deadline." President Moon's jaw tightened. The aliens weren't even pretending to be fair anymore. "Dr. Kang, begin the demonstration." On my Luna, Dr. Kang activated the quantum field generator. The crystalline matrices began to glow with an eerie blue light, as impossible amounts of energy focused into a beam that existed outside normal space. The beam reached across 847 light-years in an instant and touched the core of the Hegemony Homestar. At first, nothing seemed to happen. The monitoring stations showed normal stellar activity. Then slowly, the fusion readings began to change. The star's core temperature started dropping. Dr. Song watched her instruments in amazement. "It's working perfectly. The fusion rate is decreasing exactly as predicted. The star's energy output is dropping by 1% every 30 minutes. 600 light-years away, on the Hegemony homeworld, the first signs of change appeared within 4 hours. Weather monitoring stations detected a subtle but consistent drop in solar radiation. The planet's main city, a sprawling metropolis of crystal towers, began to experience the first cold snap in recorded history. High Counselor Vextar was in his office when his science advisor burst in without permission. "Sir, something impossible is happening to our star." "What are you talking about?" Vextar demanded. "The star is cooling down. The surface temperature has dropped by 3% in the past 4 hours. If this continues, our world will enter an ice age within days." Vextar felt cold despite the still warm air in his office. "That's impossible. Stars don't just cool down. Run more tests." "We've run every test we have. The stellar core is definitely losing energy, but there's no known natural process that could cause this. On Luna, Dr. Kang monitored the effects with scientific fascination. The field is perfectly stable. I can maintain this effect indefinitely or reverse it instantly. The star's fusion processes are completely under our control. President Moon nodded grimly. Captain Nam, send our message. From the UES Retribution, Captain Nam Ki-jun broadcast humanity's ultimatum across every communication channel in the galaxy. His voice was calm and professional as he delivered words that would change galactic history forever. This is Captain Nam Ki-jun of the United Earth Space Force, speaking for all humanity. At this moment, the hegemony home star is undergoing controlled cooling as a demonstration of Earth's defensive capabilities. The star's temperature has been reduced by 12% using quantum field manipulation technology. This effect is completely reversible and under our control. The message continued as alien communication networks across the galaxy went silent, listening in shock. Earth developed this technology for peaceful stellar research. However, the Galactic Council's threats against human civilians have forced us to demonstrate its defensive applications. Our demands are simple. All alien military fleets will immediately withdraw from human space. The Galactic Council will formally apologize for its illegal ultimatum against Earth. Any species that attacks human civilians will have their home star subjected to permanent cooling effects. This is not a negotiation. This is a statement of fact. Earth has the power to freeze any star in the galaxy. We prefer peace, but we will not hesitate to protect our children. You have 6 hours to comply. The message ended, leaving the galaxy in stunned silence. On the hegemony homeworld, panic was beginning to spread as the temperature continued dropping. Snow was falling for the first time in the planet's recorded history. The crystal towers that had stood for millennia were covered in ice. High Counselor Vextar called an emergency session of the Galactic Council. Representatives from across the galaxy connected through holographic links, their faces showing confusion and fear. "This is impossible," declared the Kethamori representative. "No species has the technology to manipulate stellar fusion processes. Apparently the humans do." Vexitar replied grimly. "Our scientists confirmed that our star is definitely cooling down. The effect matches exactly what the humans described." The Velthari representative's gray face looked pale. "If they can cool one star, they can cool any star. They could freeze entire sectors of the galaxy. But they're just humans," protested the representative from the Zektari Empire. "They've only been in space for a few centuries. Their technology is primitive compared to ours." "Primitive?" Vextar laughed bitterly. "They just reached across the galaxy and touched our star. I'd say we seriously underestimated them." Captain Lee Taemin, monitoring alien communications from the UES Harmony, reported back to Earth. "The alien fleets are holding position, but they're not withdrawing. Yet, they seem to be waiting for orders from their home governments, and those governments are arguing about whether we're bluffing," General Choi observed. Dr. Kang looked up from her controls. "Should I increase the cooling effect? Make it more obvious?" President Moon considered this. "How much colder can you make their star without causing permanent damage?" "I could drop the temperature by another 10% safely. That would bring their world to Ice Age conditions within 12 hours. Do it. But slowly. Let them watch their star dying and understand that we're in complete control." As the cooling effect intensified, the hegemony homeworld descended into chaos. The proud crystal cities were freezing solid. Agricultural areas that had fed billions were covered in ice. Emergency shelters were overwhelmed as the population struggled to understand how their star could be dying. But across the galaxy, other alien species were beginning to understand something terrifying. If humans could do this to the mighty hegemony, they could do it to anyone. The species that had seemed weak and harmless had just revealed themselves as the most powerful force in galactic history. The countdown to humanity's deadline continued, as alien leaders struggled to comprehend how completely they had misjudged the quiet species from Earth. Some began calling for immediate surrender. Others demanded a final assault on human space before it was too late. None of them realized that it was already too late. Humanity had just become the galaxy's ultimate predator, and they were still learning how to use their new power. The Galactic Council chamber was in chaos. Representatives from dozens of species argued loudly, while holographic displays showed the continuing cooling of the hegemony star. High Counselor Vextar stood at the center podium, his blue skin now pale with fear and cold as reports came in from his freezing homeworld. "We cannot surrender to a single species," declared the Kethmori representative, his insect-like mandibles clicking with agitation. "If we bow to human demands now, our authority over the galaxy is finished forever." The Velthari representative disagreed. "Authority means nothing if our worlds are frozen solid. The humans have demonstrated power beyond anything we imagined possible." Commander Oh Hyunwoo monitored the council debates from his position aboard the UES Sol, part of Earth's small fleet guarding the Sol system. "They're scared," he reported to Admiral Kim. "Half of them want to surrender, but the military species are pushing for one final attack." Admiral Kim studied the tactical displays showing alien fleet movements. "Intelligence suggests they're planning a coordinated strike on Earth itself. They think if they can destroy our homeworld quickly, we won't have time to freeze more stars." On Luna, Dr. Shin Bo-young was making final adjustments to additional quantum field generators. "The new units are online," she reported to Dr. Kang. "We can now target 5 star systems simultaneously if needed." Dr. Kang nodded grimly. "Let's hope it doesn't come to that. The power requirements for multiple stellar manipulations are enormous. We might only get one chance." President Moon was in constant communication with Earth's colonies, ordering civilian evacuations to hidden locations. "If they attack our worlds, I want as few casualties as possible," he told his staff. "But if they harm our people, we will respond with everything we have." The alien attack came without warning. 3 separate fleets struck human colonies simultaneously: the mining world of New Seoul, the agricultural planet Sejong, and the research station at New Busan. The attacks were swift and brutal, designed to kill as many humans as possible before Earth could respond. On New Seoul, 10,000 miners and their families died in the first orbital bombardment. On Sejong, alien ground forces began executing civilians in the streets. At New Busan, the research station was vaporized along with 800 scientists. The reports reached Earth within minutes through quantum communication networks. President Moon listened to the casualty numbers with growing fury. These weren't military targets. They were ordinary people, including children, murdered to send a message. "They killed civilians," he said quietly, his voice deadly calm. "They deliberately targeted non-combatants." Colonel An Woo-jin, monitoring alien communications, looked up from his console. "Sir, I'm intercepting victory messages from the attacking fleets. They're celebrating the deaths and promising to kill more humans until we surrender." President Moon's face hardened. "Dr. Kang, activate all quantum field generators. Target the home stars of every species that participated in these attacks. Make the cooling permanent this time." "Sir," Dr. Kang said carefully, "that means affecting 5 different star systems. Billions of alien civilians will die." "They should have thought of that before they murdered our children," President Moon replied. "Execute immediately." The quantum field generators on Luna activated in sequence, sending invisible beams of destruction across the galaxy. The targets were carefully chosen: the Kethmori Empire, the Velthari Collective, the Zektari Republic, the Mordun Hegemony, and the Silneth Confederation. 5 of the most powerful military species in the galaxy. The effects began within hours. Unlike the controlled demonstration on the hegemony homeworld, these stellar manipulations were designed to be permanent. The targeted stars began a slow but irreversible decline toward complete thermal shutdown. On the Kethmori homeworld, the insect-like aliens watched in horror as their red giant star began to dim. Emergency broadcasts filled their communication networks as billions faced the reality of a dying sun. The Velthari, masters of genetic engineering, frantically tried to modify themselves to survive in extreme cold. But even their advanced biotechnology couldn't prepare them for the complete freezing of their world. Captain Nam Ki-jun broadcast humanity's final ultimatum across all galactic channels. His voice was no longer diplomatic. It carried the cold fury of a species that had been pushed too far. This is Earth's final message to the Galactic Council. You have murdered innocent humans, including children. You have shown that you understand only violence and death. Therefore, we respond in the only language you comprehend. 5-star systems are now undergoing permanent cooling. Their stars will die completely within 1 standard year. This is not reversible. Billions of you will freeze to death in the darkness. However, Earth offers mercy to those species that immediately surrender all military assets and formally submit to human authority. Species that continue to resist will watch their stars die one by one until only darkness remains. You wanted to see what humans are capable of when threatened. Now you know. We are not the peaceful farmers you thought we were. We are your new masters, and we will not tolerate disobedience. The message ended with coordinates for surrender points throughout the galaxy. Admiral Ko Sung-min coordinated Earth's response from the Military Command Center. Alien fleets are breaking formation across the galaxy. Some are fleeing toward their home systems. Others are moving toward our surrender points. What about the attack fleets that hit our colonies? Asked General Choi. Colonel An has something special planned for them, Admiral Ko replied grimly. Colonel An was indeed planning something special. Using quantum manipulation technology, he targeted the stars nearest to the attacking alien fleets. But instead of cooling these stars, he began heating them up rapidly. Within hours, 3 stars began showing signs of instability. Solar flares erupted with increasing intensity, creating radiation storms that disabled alien ships and killed their crews. The fleets that had murdered human civilians found themselves trapped in systems with unstable, increasingly dangerous stars. The psychological effect was devastating. Across the galaxy, alien species realized that humans could not only freeze stars but make them explode. No solar system was safe from Earth's reach. High Counselor Vextar, shivering in his emergency bunker as his homeworld froze around him, sent a desperate message to Earth. We surrender unconditionally. Please, in the name of mercy, spare our worlds. We will accept any terms you demand. Similar messages flooded in from species across the galaxy. The Aquatic Confederation offered their entire star fleet. The Crystalline Collective promised to serve humanity forever. Even the proud warrior clans of the Outer Rim begged for mercy, but it was too late for the 5 species whose stars were already dying. Their fate was sealed as an example to the galaxy of what happened when humans were pushed beyond their limits. President Moon watched the surrender messages with mixed emotions. How many dead? He asked quietly. 18,000 humans in the 4 colony attacks, reported Admiral Kim. Projected alien casualties from the stellar manipulations, approximately 40 billion over the next year. The number hung in the air like a weight. In one day, humanity had gone from victims to the authors of the largest genocide in galactic history. They had saved themselves by becoming the monsters the aliens claimed they were. Sir, Dr. Kang said softly, I can still reverse some of the stellar effects. The Velthari and Zektari stars might be saved if we act now. President Moon considered this for a long moment. No, the example must stand. The galaxy needs to understand that there are consequences for murdering our people. As alien surrender fleets continued to arrive at human checkpoints, the balance of galactic power shifted forever. The species that had ruled the galaxy for millennia were now refugees begging for mercy from the humans they had tried to enslave. The Galactic Council was finished. In its place, a new order was emerging with humanity at its center, enforced by the ultimate threat, the power to freeze or ignite any star in the galaxy. Earth had become the galaxy's ultimate authority through the simple demonstration that they were willing to do what others considered unthinkable. 6 months after the galaxy's surrender, President Moon Jae-won stood before the newly constructed Terran Assembly Hall on Earth. Representatives from every surviving alien species sat in carefully arranged sections, their faces showing a mixture of fear and desperate hope. The hall was much larger than the old Galactic Council chamber, because now there was only one species that mattered. Director Han Mi-young walked to the podium to read the final terms of surrender. She had been chosen to head the new colonial administration that would govern the former council species. Her voice was clear and firm as she spoke to the assembled aliens. The Terran protective zones are now established across 40% of the galaxy, she announced. Within these zones, human law is absolute. Any species found violating Terran regulations will face immediate stellar punishment. The alien representatives shifted nervously in their seats. They had learned what stellar punishment meant. 5 dead star systems served as permanent reminders scattered across the galaxy, frozen worlds where nothing would ever live again. Fleet Admiral Ko Sung-min presented the military restrictions that would govern the new galactic order. All former council species are limited to defensive ships only. No species may maintain military vessels capable of interstellar warfare. All weapons research must be approved by Terran oversight committees. The once proud hegemony representative, now wearing the simple gray robes of a subject species, raised his hand, trembling. Admiral, what of our merchant fleets? Our people need to trade for food and medical supplies. Trade will continue under Terran protection, Admiral Ko replied. Human escort vessels will guarantee safe passage for peaceful commerce. The age of interstellar wars is over. Dr. Park So-jin, now serving as Director of Alien Relations, stood to address cultural policies. Humanity has no interest in destroying alien cultures or forcing you to become like us. You may maintain your traditions, religions, and social structures as long as they do not threaten galactic peace. A representative from the Crystalline Collective, their translucent body flickering with nervous light patterns, asked, "What of species that resist these new arrangements?" Dr. Park's answer was simple and terrifying. Look at the Keth Mori system if you want to see what happens to species that resist. The Keth Mori system was now a monument to the price of defiance. Its star had gone completely dark 3 months ago, leaving behind frozen worlds floating in eternal night. The once mighty insect empire that had controlled dozens of systems was now extinct, their civilization preserved only in historical records. Captain Lee Taemin commanded the first mixed-species exploration fleet, a sign of humanity's new approach to galactic relations. His ship, the UES Unity, carried human officers alongside alien crew members who had proven their loyalty to the new order. The outer galaxy expeditions are proceeding smoothly, he reported to the assembly. We've made contact with 3 new species beyond former council space. All have agreed to join the Terran protective system after learning about our capabilities. The message was clear. Even species that had never heard of the old Galactic Council knew about humanity's power to freeze stars. Earth's reputation, as the star freezers had spread across the galaxy faster than any ship could travel. President Moon finally rose to address the assembly. The hall fell completely silent as the leader of the most powerful species in galactic history prepared to speak. His words would determine the future of countless worlds. 6 months ago, this galaxy was governed by fear and oppression disguised as cooperation, he began. Strong species dominated weak ones. Military might determined political power. The Galactic Council ruled through threats and intimidation. He paused, looking out at the faces of former enemies who were now subjects. Humanity sought only friendship when we joined your community. We offered our knowledge freely. We asked for nothing but the chance to grow alongside you in peace. Instead, you saw us as a threat to be eliminated. You planned our subjugation from the moment we arrived. You forced us to choose between slavery and extinction. His voice grew harder. You chose to discover what humans are truly capable of when our children are threatened. The result sits before you today. 5 dead star systems and a galaxy that will never again know interstellar war. The alien representatives listened in absolute silence. Some wept according to their species' customs. Others sat frozen with fear. All understood that they were witnessing the establishment of a new galactic age. But humanity is not like the old council. President Moon continued, his tone softening slightly. We do not rule through fear alone. We offer something the galaxy has never known. True peace enforced by absolute power. Under Terran authority, no species will ever again face extinction from warfare. No world will be enslaved by stronger neighbors. No civilization will be destroyed by resource conflicts. The strong will not prey upon the weak because humanity will not permit it. Dr. Shinbo Young, monitoring the quantum field generators from Luna, had spent months perfecting the technology that made this new order possible. The stellar manipulation systems now operated automatically, constantly scanning the galaxy for signs of military buildup or aggressive behavior. Any species that attempts to build weapons of mass destruction will watch their star begin to cool. She had programmed the systems to announce, any government that threatens genocide will face immediate stellar intervention. The age of galactic warfare is permanently over. Fleet Admiral Ko added the final element of humanity's new order. Peaceful species that follow Terran law will receive protection and assistance. We will share our technology to improve your living standards. We will defend you from natural disasters and resource shortages. Cooperation with humanity brings prosperity. But his voice became deadly serious. Rebellion brings darkness. We have the power to freeze any star in the galaxy, and we will use it without hesitation to protect innocent life. As the assembly concluded, representatives from the subject species began filing out to return to their worlds with humanity's new laws. Many looked defeated, but others seemed relieved. For the first time in galactic history, they lived under a system that protected the weak from the strong. Captain Nam Ki-jun, now commanding Earth's primary diplomatic vessel, prepared to escort alien delegations safely home. It's strange, he remarked to his crew. They're afraid of us, but they're also grateful. Some of these species have been oppressed by their neighbors for centuries. The transformation of galactic civilization continued over the following years. Under human oversight, former military factories were converted to produce medical equipment and agricultural technology. Species that had been enemies for millennia learned to cooperate under Terran law. The dead star systems remained as permanent warnings, but no new stellar punishments were needed. The galaxy had learned its lesson thoroughly. When humans said they would freeze a star, everyone believed them completely. Dr. Park established cultural exchange programs between species, fostering understanding while maintaining human authority. We're not trying to create a human empire, she explained to visiting alien scholars. We're creating a galactic civilization where warfare is impossible. Years later, children on hundreds of worlds grew up in a galaxy where interstellar war was just a story from the distant past. They learned about the old Galactic Council in history classes, but it seemed as ancient and irrelevant as the wars that had once ravaged individual planets. The dark systems where stars had been frozen became pilgrimage sites where beings from across the galaxy came to remember the price of aggression. Memorial plaques in dozens of languages carried the same message. Here died the last species to threaten humanity's children. On Earth, in the garden outside the Terran Assembly Hall, President Moon often walked among flowers brought from worlds across the galaxy. Each species had contributed something beautiful to honor their human protectors. The garden was a symbol of what the galaxy could create when freed from the fear of war. Sometimes alien visitors would ask him if humanity regretted the deaths of 40 billion beings in the stellar punishments. His answer was always the same. We regret that it was necessary, but we would do it again tomorrow if anyone threatened our children. The galaxy had learned that humans were capable of both incredible mercy and terrible vengeance. They chose mercy for those who accepted the new order, but the power to freeze stars remained ready for anyone foolish enough to test humanity's resolve. Earth had become the galaxy's protector, judge, and executioner. It was a responsibility they had never wanted but accepted completely. The age of galactic peace had begun, enforced by the simple understanding that humanity would burn the universe down before allowing anyone to harm innocent life. The Galactic Council's greatest mistake had become the foundation for the most peaceful era in galactic history.